So, welcome, guys, to another edition of Italo's Black Talk Radio. I am very, very excited today because I'm talking to Matthew Domenico and Katherine Duff. I'm not sure if one more guest is going to call in today or not. I hope he does. If he doesn't, that's great. I still want to give him a shout out to Brock Joseph, aka T Dog. Actually, I was. Anyways, here's the song. Okay. And now it doesn't make any sense to play it, so let me just stop it. So the reason I'm having Matthew and Katherine is because last year I saw this show called the Foxhole Stories, Twist, Pull, Smoke, Run, Motherfucker, Run. And I wasn't expecting to see what I saw. And I am not a war movie fan. I'm not a war veteran kind of movie fan or theater fan. But this was my first, experience as war theater goes. And it's the story of, I don't want to lose this. It's basically the story of a veteran who comes back after being in Afghanistan. He comes back and he has a problem dealing with civilian life, particularly his girlfriend. And he doesn't know how to interact with her or anybody. And the only way he can deal with his inner thoughts is to talk to his PTSD. So there's actually that's where T Dog or Brock is actually the star of the show. To be honest, I'm sorry, you guys wrote it so well that he personified the terror and the horror of having PTSD, and it was just a powerful powerhouse performance by all three of you guys. But I was petrified with T-Dog, I must say. It was one of the most incredible, most touching performances, but very, very, very scary. And one thing is to just see it in the theater, but you can imagine how it is to carry this trauma with you in real life. That's the horror story. So they were nominated for the Anchor Producer Award. I think they were extended after the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and now they're doing it again, guys, in Fullerton. So that's why I wanted to have you guys call in today and promote it and tell everybody about your show. So welcome, Matthew. Welcome, Katherine. I'll stop talking now.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the intro, Victor. That was great.
Yes, thank you.
And Brock is very good.
Thank
you. He is the star of the show. We basically wrote him right into like a starring position.
So I guess you can all pitch in whenever you want, but what was the inspiration, or what was it that what was it that you got inspired to do with this show?
Yeah, I think I'll start that one out. It was inspired from a class assignment that I took back in college. I was taking arts and social change class, and I, for some reason, decided to volunteer myself to do veteran discrimination. And then when I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, why did I volunteer for this? So I was like going around with ideas
just
that I
like
could do.
The war.
Yeah. I
right.
was coming up with ideas of how I'm going to do this. I did this thing where I was like, hey guys, why don't you post on Facebook some of the things that have happened to you since being out that could be considered discrimination? And it was really remarkable that nobody actually responded to the post, but I had all these people Facebook messaging me, including sons and daughters of veterans. So I was like, okay, so there's something here, but they don't want me to talk about their experiences. So I was like, well, what if I... Yeah, they wanted to be anonymous. So I was like, okay, so what if I actually like called up two of my buddies, and I was like, hey, you know, their code words are going to be Hollywood and cornball. And I was like, so Hollywood and cornball, could I just like interview you guys and get some inspiration for like, you know, just, you know, an interview conversation? And that actually turned into the play.
The first iteration.
Yeah, the first iteration, and then we started twisting it around to the point where it's actually, you know, Adam really, really battling with his PTSD, and he wants to talk to somebody, but he really can't because he's, you know, there's so many reasons why he can't. He feels isolated. He's scared to do it. He doesn't think anybody. He's traumatized. He doesn't think anybody will understand him.
And he doesn't have the tools. And the play originally started off as a phone call between two guys, essentially mirroring a real life story of what had happened with Matthew. It was just a conversation. It was about a 10-page thing that he did for class. I read it back then because we went to college together. So I read it, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. This is really good. This is before I was on board, and it was a 10-page thing of just conversation between two guys over the phone. And then we talked and we talked and we talked, and months later, and we were like, how do we get them in the same room? Because having two guys on the phone is, you know, hard to do on stage. And then, you know, we decided that we'll make one of the guys PTSD and actually make him a physical embodiment of PTSD. And that's really when it started clicking and being like, like this is actually pretty powerful stuff, and we can actually very much physicalize a lot of what these guys are going through. And, you know, including, you know, Matthew didn't need any kind of research on that because he knows it from personal experience as well, the whole, you know, PTSD and dealing with that at home and stuff like that, and coming home. And, I mean, but we were at the play when he was about 7 years out.
Right. So basically, this is autobiographical, or was it pieces of different people's stories? Because it seemed like it was very well. Obviously, it's very personal, but because I don't know if you want to share that what you went through yourself after coming back from. Did you go to Afghanistan, or what was it that you were? You went.
I went to Afghanistan. I went to Afghanistan twice. I was
partly autobiographical.
I would say it's partly. You know, I was in the surge of '09. I was at the tail end to the Battle of Marja. So yeah, surge of '09, Marja. I was there for some really, really controversial moments within the Afghanistan Operation Enduring Freedom, you know, moments. But one of the things, you know, because we're making a theater company out of this, and we're also making a play series, was I had to use my own experiences to really, you know, lead by example of being like, hey guys, you know, you really need to talk to people because they will understand you and they will want to take care of you. You just have to be able to do it. Then the best way of doing that is sometimes putting one foot forward yourself, showing them that like, look what I did. And then from there, that's when we had this giant snowball effect of people. I mean, every show that we've done, we've had a veteran, if not a civilian, telling us that I finally felt like I saw something that really depicted what I'm going through, and I want to be able to go get help.
Right. Yeah, this story was also about families because in Leah, the you know, Katherine's character personified what the families, they don't understand, they try to be supportive and they try to understand, but they not having gone through the experience is my opinion or my take on this. Not going through the experience makes you, you know, unable to reach, I guess, a veteran. Is that true? Is that what happened to you, or what did the character?
Yeah, I think that that part is definitely was not autobiographical on our part, because Matthew and I, like, we have been together for almost 4 years, and we were much more open. Matthew's very, very open, a lot more open than a lot of vets are, unfortunately. But that is definitely, a thing that a lot of them feel. And I think that Matthew did feel that when he did first come home. I didn't know him at that point, but sort of that feeling that, I'm alone, nobody understands me, nobody will. You get, separated from the guys that were in your unit. You're all from all over the country, so you can't really connect with them as much anymore, and they're the only people that really understand anymore, so you feel tremendously isolated. And your family just wants to understand, but they never really can, and that kind of adds resentment and all these feelings of, again, more isolation. So that character was very much based on the dependents, as they're called, who really want to understand and really want to be there for these guys, but they never will understand, and it's nobody's fault. It just is the way that it is. So we were trying to show, especially veterans who came to see, that you can open up, and that part is autobiographical for sure, because when we started being together, Matthew was very closed off with those experiences. He wouldn't tell me a lot of what he went through, and I egged it out of him essentially, because I very much believe in openness and being able to share your burden with other people, because it just makes it worse if you bottle it up. If you don't tell people, it just makes your burden worse. So I said to him, you have to tell me, you have to open up to me, you have to tell me these stories. And some of them did make it into the play. And in answer to your question, the rib story is real. So for anybody who comes to see the play, the story about the ribs is real. And a couple of the other stories were real life experiences as well.
Oh yeah, and I remember during the writing process, luckily also Katherine's father, Michael, has been a giant help to us.
He used to be a playwright.
Yeah, and he's just been a giant tool for us. I remember when we were writing it, just to add to this, there was a part where it was like, Matt, you really need to add things to this, like stories. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. And I got really scared, because I was like, what are people gonna think? What are people gonna say? I think Brock said it best. It's one thing to talk about your PTSD, but it's another thing to show it to other people, and then even take a step further, put it on stage for everybody else to see. So I was absolutely terrified at some points. Even I just told you it, and now it's in the script, but how do I feel about that being up there? It was a very...
We had many discussions about it. I pushed you a lot.
It was a roller coaster of emotions.
It was a roller coaster.
Yes. Yeah, and actually, being in the audience, I think I was there. I think it was the last show, or it could have been the last show, I think. And I kept missing it, and I even think I actually bought the tickets, or I got the tickets, and I missed the show, and I'm like, oh my goodness, no. Anyway, so I took 2 friends of mine came with me, Seb and Dave. And after seeing the show, and I noticed how everybody was trying to contain themselves, trying to contain their tears, because he was so emotional. And after the show was over, and anyways, one of my friends, Dave, was bawling. He couldn't even say why he felt this way about the show, and I was like, well, let's go say hi to to Matthew and Brock and Katherine. He didn't want to go. He was like, no, I just can't. But I think it was the emotional. I don't know what it was, but as soon as he saw Matthew and you guys gave each other a hug, he felt so relieved. He was like, oh my goodness. He felt like, because anyways, there was so many emotions that he couldn't even handle or deal with. And I didn't know what was the story behind it. And I think his father was a veteran or something, or somebody was a veteran. And so he understood what the families go through. And so I guess it was hard for him to express it at the moment. But later he told me, he said, yes, I felt so well, so relieved that I was able to give him a hug and tell him how I appreciated the story. But he couldn't even speak. It was just amazing. Like it was such. It was just, for me. It was very like seeing that. It was like, wow, okay, I didn't understand, but now I do.
At this, at this point, I call them sets. Ever since our because the number of shows that we've done now since Fringe, every single show I have, there's always going to be somebody outside, civilian or veteran, and they just look right at me. It's always the same process. They look right at me, and then I look at them. They kind of shake their head, and I just kind of nod, and then I just open up my arms, and I'm just like, yeah, come here. Give me a hug. Don't worry about it. And
some of them are dependents, too.
Yeah, some of them are dependents. Some of them are veterans. And it's amazing to be in that position because sometimes I'm holding 6-foot giant men that could easily pick me up, and I'm kind of stocky,
right.
but they pick me up and probably throw me, and they're inconsolable, and I'm holding them. I mean, I've never experienced that in theater, and I think that's what is one of the things that is so special about this show, where it has done things in ways that I've never seen veterans react to. Because usually veterans, when they go see something, they walk out in a way where it's kind of like, I don't know. It was kind of truthful. There were some things in there. And, like, the dependents are kind of the same thing. Like, I remember, dad and mom saying something like that. I don't know. But, like, when they come out afterwards, it's such a cathartic experience. I mean, if you've dealt with any kind of military experience or PTSD experience, depression.
Period, yeah, because we have had some people that have come and said, this really spoke to me, and I have no ties to the military. I'm not a veteran. I don't know anybody who's a veteran, but it really spoke to me, and it's because we show that side of trauma and how it really does follow you. And we had people say, I have my own T-Dog, and these were people that were not vets, but who had trauma from different things. And it's sort of, we tried to show the universal struggle of it, so that although it is geared towards the vets and it is mostly for the vets, other people like civilians who have trauma from other things can also relate to it and be like, oh, well, I can learn from this as well, and open up myself to help from people close to me, even though they might not understand. So it really is universal for all different kinds of PTSD.
And it's amazing hearing the audience members outside using T-Dog as an archetype in conversation. Like, this is what my T-Dog is like. Or, when I saw in this one scene, my T-Dog is exactly like that. That was really shocking. Oh, it was one of the greatest compliments I've ever heard after a show. People immediately using it in their own dialogue. I couldn't believe that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, giving it a name too is interesting. I actually had story about that too. He dealt with trauma in some ways. When I thought I was bipolar, and I thought I was depressed, and I thought I was I had multiple personalities. And I gave it a name. His name was Charlie, and then there was Bob. Bob was very quiet. And giving them a name made it easy, I guess, at the time to deal with them, to deal with those alter egos. And then until I realized they were just part of me, and I had to embrace them and be happy with being different, I guess. When I want to be quiet, I'll be quiet. If I want to be party town, and if I want to be introverted or extroverted, the same thing happened in last year's Hollywood Fringe. I was the same way. I was like, at the Hollywood Fringe, the office hours, you saw me, Charlie and talkative, and then there was days that I was like, I don't even want to see anybody today. So And there's also trauma as to why that happens, and I'll deal with that later. But this is not about me. But yeah, I understand. Giving it a name is very powerful and very interesting. How everybody was like, yeah, my T-Dog is depression, or my T-Dog is bipolar disorder, or PTSD in whatever form.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's because trauma, like, it's nothing to really be afraid of or something to ignore. And a lot of people feel like if I just ignore it, if I just don't think about it, if I just don't talk about it, it's not there. And that's very much not true. In fact, the more you don't talk about it, the more it's not there, the more it is there. And that's really a lot of what we were trying to say as well. Because, if you acknowledge that it's there, and that's why at the end of the show, T-Dog doesn't leave the stage. It's very important that he's still there, because he'll never leave. And that's okay,
Exactly. I mean, like, just
right.
Like, I don't want to like give away certain points of the show because we do have the run at Fullerton right now, and we could possibly have even more runs.
Yeah, we want people in the audience.
Yeah,
Spoil for
everyone. But I think there's one thing that T-Dog says that's so, I think it what really just grips you at the end is if you don't tell them, no one will remember us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point that trauma does. You're a survivor, and survivors are meant to tell stories so that way other people could know what to do. So that way when people feel that they're in that position, they feel like they're not alone. So the whole point of being with me in this situation, it's a survival story. And how do you survive something like this, like coming back home? It has so many, when it comes to the whole realm of, the PTSD genre play, I mean, there's so many facets that you can run with it. I mean, we could literally sit here and talk for days about what this play actually touches verbatim at every point. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the beauty of the T-Dog character. He is your imagination. He can't go too big. He can't go too far. He is your imagination. It's one of those things where, like, even I'm kind of impressed off the side, like, oh my God, I can't believe we actually wrote this.
Rock is very lucky. We gave him no limits as an actor to what he could do, really. So
and even in the writing, he can't be too big, and that's like one of those things as an actor where that actually would terrify me. Where I'm like, oh my God, I can actually go.
Well, the character is terrifying because he can do whatever he wants to Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Because he does have no limits. He's part of his mind. What were you saying before that, though, Matthew? It was interesting.
Which part?
The survivor.
Oh, I just think, like, when it comes to this play specifically, it really is a survivor story in the sense that, you go through a traumatic experience. And I don't believe in comparative.
And you survive that.
And you survive that.
And then you survive coming home.
Yeah, and then you survive coming home.
Because they're 22 a day?
Oh, yeah, what was it? 22 veterans commit suicide a day right now. There is an epidemic within the veteran community. Wow. Yeah, 22 a day. And then I've heard, but that statistic has actually been very well known in the veteran community. We talk about it a lot. We've been talking about it for years. And that number is actually going down now. And people are actually saying, oh, well, they must be doing some good, whereas me and some other people within the community are saying, are you kidding me? 1% of the entire United States actually joins the military. That is such a small number, and we've been committing suicide 22 times a day for years. Do you really think there's many of us left? That's the reason why.
There's not enough of them left to be 22 a day anymore.
Yeah.
And Matthew's lost some guys from his unit recently as well, like a couple weeks ago even. So it's still happening. It's still going on.
And it absolutely, like, it's so gut-wrenching every single time it happens. It reinvigorates me to do the show once again. Like when our last show, I actually dedicated it to one of my buddies because he committed suicide the day right before our show. I mean, I couldn't even believe that. I was like,
Oh, good.
We did the show again in November, and he did that the night before.
Yeah, and we dedicated the show to him before we opened, and that just like set the tone for the show that this isn't just a play. This is a social, active, a veteran rights kind of arts project.
Yeah, like a movement kind of.
Yeah, a movement in a sense. I mean, we're still at the very, 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 very startup phase of a movement, but we're definitely trying our best.
Right. No, it's amazing. I saw you guys dedicated one show. The earnings of one show went to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Right. I read that somewhere. And it's great. It's amazing that you guys are doing that. It is not easy, and people that. Yeah, I mean, if you have somebody that's I should say surviving, and doesn't commit suicide, it's not great either. This person is still living with this condition, and it's not easy for them either. So you don't have to do it in order for, you know what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing it, you're not committing suicide. You're not, acting upon it. It doesn't mean that it's not great news either. You still have people, homeless. You still have people that are living through PTSD every day. You still have people that are, abusive to their spouses or children after coming back from war. I can imagine. So there's many other ramifications that are affecting other people, and so this is just one of the things that happens is suicide, but it's not the only thing. It can be depression, self-medication, and alcoholism.
One of the things that you're talking about, it just really sparked a moment in the play because we actually kind of at one say that. We don't say necessarily that it's okay to commit suicide in that monologue, but there is a point to be made that
the God monologue?
Yeah, the God monologue in the sense that, and we were actually really worried about that monologue because it was kind of like, well, are we saying that it's okay to commit suicide? And well, no, we're not saying it's okay to commit suicide. It's what we are trying to say is that, one thing that I can't stand about when people like judge about suicides where it was like, oh, that's such a selfish choice. That's such a, they could have done something more. Whereas me, I like to think of it as, it's somebody that it's not that they didn't want to do it anymore. It's just that they couldn't. And for some reason that they were in a position where they just were in complete distress and they had no way of just basically getting out. And I think as artists, it's important for us not to judge. It's just to know what happened, at least within the context of an art piece. I mean, in real life, oh no, absolutely try to stop somebody from doing anything close to this. But when it comes to an art piece, looking at it from a narrative perspective, it's really understanding all the different sides of what is the consequences of doing this and what are the consequences of not doing this and what are the pros and cons.
Yeah, I think also that it wasn't really about saying that it was okay to commit suicide. I think it was more because Adam is the one who says that monologue. And I think at least when I was doing the writing process with you, I felt like we were writing a very damaged man. And we were showing like how far he was, and yet we can still relate to people watching who have been that far gone too, because then, by the end, he does have some form of enlightenment on that topic, and he knows that was wrong, and that he was worth it, and that he does deserve to be here, and that, he is here for a reason, and he sort of has to come to terms with his survivor's guilt, which is really what was talking in that monologue.
Yeah.
Him wanting to die because he doesn't deserve to be here, because he survived and the other guys didn't. That was really survivor's guilt talking, combined with depression that often occurs together upon coming home. Is depression and survivor's guilt.
Right. No, I remember now. It was actually, well, and for those who haven't been to the Hollywood Fringe Festival, it's so many shows in so little time. But this one show in particular deserves so much more attention. And I'm glad that you guys are doing it again. And just before I forget, you guys are doing it again at the Maverick Theater. Just to let you guys know, well, whoever's listening, it's going to be in Fullerton, California, Maverick Theater. Tickets are only $10. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You cannot see anything for that price. So we have the dates are on the website. There's so many, but you can go to goldstar.com. I think is the one way to go. And right, is there another website you can go to, or just goldstar.com is the best way?
And there's the Maverick website. If you just type in the Maverick Theater Fullerton, click on their website, they'll have tickets for the show as well.
And if you also go to foxholestories.com, on the landing page, we have a ticket link to the theater box office online.
Okay, great. So now you guys know this may be your last chance if you haven't seen it. And I know how crazy it is, but this is only a weekend. It's on Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So you're bound to have a weekend off. And if you have any excuses, come on. Especially for those that haven't seen it, I would encourage you to see it. I don't know. Are you guys doing it this year again, or is it just another? What are you doing this year? Are you doing anything for Hollywood Fringe? Is my question.
No, we've done the show. This is our fourth time doing it, including the extension that we got for Fringe. So this is number 4 of Twist Pull Smoke, and it's definitely, we've done a couple runs of it at this point. So we don't have any plans to run it again in the next couple months. We'll have to see.
We were talking about bringing another one of the Foxhole Stories to Fringe, but we're still in the midst of having a run with this one, so we didn't want to push it while trying to perform this at the same time, especially if we have
I totally understand.
Yeah, so
we're doing some film stuff right now as well. Yeah. So we're pretty busy. So maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year for sure, because we do have. I do have. If I needed to, 3-4 weeks, I could finish a Foxhole Story play right now. I have another one that I'm working on that. If you think Twist Pull Smoke is messed up, man, oh man, like this next one I got is, it is, even I think
oh my God.
Yeah, it is absolutely gut-wrenching. And then Katherine's got one that she's working on that is absolutely fantastic. Like, I'm actually kind of jealous that she came up with it, because I was talking to her about it, how did you come up with this idea? And then she told it to me, and I was like, oh my God, I love you. We definitely do have more stories in the Foxhole Stories, but right now we're really just focusing on doing the run of Twist Pull Smoke. But I'm pretty sure we'll be at Fringe this year, seeing shows and hanging out at the parties and whatnot.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd like to see you guys again. Give you a big hug, give you a drink or something, because you guys are doing an amazing job. Just doing what you're doing already is, believe it or not, is touching people. And hopefully people will see it again in Fullerton. I've been encouraging people online, and whoever asks me about, how's the Fringe Festival, I'm like, go see this show, Foxhole Stories. Oh my God, you got to see it. Because you guys had the encore. And so I was like, if you guys don't see the show, some people are not ready for it either. Some people are just like, yeah, I'd rather see a comedy, and that's fine. You want to go into.
Yeah, people
What's
were
that?
actually surprised how much they laughed during the show.
Yeah, there are some comedic moments in the show, just so that everybody knows that we're not just like dark clouds who are like, we're actually really fun. But I agree, you're right.
But
there were a lot of people who go to Fringe and they want to see like something that's really campy and funny, and you know, so the dramas do. I feel like the dramas do suffer a little bit at Fringe because it really is a fun festival, and a lot of people go to have fun. And I really
you know.
enjoyed.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I really enjoyed the musicals and the comedies, and I loved yours last year. So I really like to go to the fun ones too. So I totally understand that.
Right. No, and yeah, but there's a time for everything. And so
exactly.
yeah, once you see Foxhole Stories, you may want to see 2 or 3 comedies after, so you can get back to normal. No, but after seeing your show, I was, and there's some shows like yours, and there was another one called The Day I Became Black was another one, where I couldn't see anything else for that day. I was like, I cannot see anything right now. I just have to go home and think about it and relax and just like, process it. It was very intense, which is a good thing. I love intense experiences like that. It was, but yeah, I mean, there's 400 shows, so it was hard to see everything, and so that's another thing. And anyhow, I don't want to keep talking without playing this one song that I have for you guys, talking about alter egos and stuff, and it's called That Things. I don't know if you guys heard it, but it's a really good song, and I was just like, when I was thinking about this show today, I was thinking about this song, and I don't know why I have to play it, but it's one of those. But before I go, is there any shout outs, any hashtags, anything you want to say?
I know with me, you can always follow us on Instagram at Foxhole Stories, at Maddie Domenico,
at Duffy the Vampire Slayer 96.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right? See, we're fun.
Yeah. Social media for sure. www.foxholestories.com, www.matthewdomenico.com,
www.katherineconnorduff.com.
Yeah,
and we would like to give a shout out to Brock, who couldn't be with us this morning.
Yes.
He is also a veteran, and he plays PTSD, and he is very well known in the Orange County theater circuit, and he's quite brilliant. He's
amazing.
If you don't come for the story and our acting, definitely come to see Brock, because he is phenomenal. Yeah. He really is. He gives a powerhouse performance, like you said, and he's a Navy veteran, and he really just tapped into this role and made it his own, and really shines and hammers that subject matter home. So definitely come check it out. If not for us, for Brock, because he is a revelation.
Hashtag do it
yes,
for Brock.
Yes, he is.